Hello ladies, this is Iveta. I'm your postpartum and pregnancy corrective exercise specialist, specializing in prolapse and fixing your incontinence. And I had a great question that I thought I'm gonna share the answer with you. It's about engaging your pelvic floor when you exercise or throughout the day. So the question goes like this. So I've been doing my exercises, crunches, bridges, squats, and I've been engaging my pelvic floor with it. Are you saying, she's asking me, if I'm saying that I am not supposed to engage the pelvic floor purposefully doing these exercises? Shall I just rely that the pelvic floor will do what it's supposed to do while doing these exercises? My prolapse has not worsened, but has not improved either. Okay, so let's go a little back. We have to explain, you have to understand the function of the pelvic floor. Okay, and the pelvic floor has two functions. It has an autonomic function. So that is the one that you don't control. Okay, autonomic nervous system, it does what it does, like your heart beating. You don't control your heart beating, right? So it's the same with the pelvic floor. On inhale, pelvic floor goes down or descends or lengthens on inhale to accommodate the air from the inhalation. And on exhale, it lifts up a little bit to expel the air, okay? It does it every single time, with every single breath, or it should be doing that, okay? Once it stops, that's where this problems start arising, or later down the road, you will have some problems, okay? When the pelvic floor doesn't go up and down, up and down, up and down, okay? And then the other function of it is the control function, the Kegel, like doing a purposeful contraction, okay? So you can do a purposeful contraction if you want to with your pelvic floor. You can squeeze it if you want. So it has two functions. You can control it, but it also has a function where you cannot control it. As opposed to, for example, your biceps, it's only, your bicep will not ever be like started doing this by itself. You only can control biceps, okay? It doesn't have that autonomic function. Do you understand the difference? What other muscles in your body just do whatever they need to do without you knowing? So like bladder, when you kind of like you pee out, when you pee, you don't control the bladder. It does its thing by itself, okay? As opposed to other muscles in the body, like your biceps, like your hamstrings. You do a shoulder shrug because you want to do it, okay? Right? So you totally are in control of it, okay? So the purpose of pelvic floor therapy, or being functional, like getting rid of leaking, getting rid of prolapse, is to make you functional. So have the pelvic floor be functional again, because it isn't. Okay, so that's why we have a problem. For some reason, it just stopped working, whether it was pregnancy, whether it was anything else. I'm sorry. So we have to make it the pelvic floor functional. That's like job number one. Okay, you can do all the squats and all the bridges and all the Kegels you want. If the pelvic floor is not functional, so during the day, it doesn't work with your inhale and exhale, you'll never be fixed, okay? So you just have to, yes, rely on that your body will do what it's supposed to do. That's the ultimate goal, okay? Because that's how your body will heal itself. That's how your pelvic floor will heal itself. That your pelvic floor will go up and down, up and down. That's how it gets itself strong and fit, okay? Now, however, if we are dysfunctional and the pelvic floor is stuck, or it's too weak, or it's positioned too low, and we have to learn, we have to train the body to be functional again, okay? So we have to retrain the pelvic floor. We have to teach it again how it is to be. On inhale, let go. On exhale, lift up. And so it's strong, and it's just the right amount of strong. It's not too strong, not too tight, not too weak, okay? And that it's working with every single movement, okay? So for that, we do those pelvic floor exercises. We start on the floor, with the breathing, and we're getting our transversus abdominis on board, glutes on board, the adductors on board, everything is working, okay? And the more you do it, the more it becomes habitual, and your body starts to remember it and goes like, oh, I see, now this feels good, I'm going up and down, that feels good. So the body can heal itself. We just have to enable it, okay? So, but if the pelvic floor is dysfunctional already, it's not working, it's either stuck or weak or something, we start helping the body restore its function by lying on the floor, doing those breathing exercises, engaging the pelvic floor, noticing what the pelvic floor is doing, abdominal exercises and all that stuff, okay? To help the body to restore the pelvic floor function, okay? And then at a certain point of your healing journey, this should be automatic, okay? This should be already automatic. So as you go doing squats, which is standing, it's already advanced. There's a first beginner level is lying on the floor, then it's on your hands and knees, then we go half kneeling, and then we go standing, okay? And in all these movements, we try to do these exercises, and we kind of train the breathing and the pelvic floor to be more resilient, okay? But at a certain point, you should not be thinking of doing a Kegel when you squat, okay? You should already feel that the pelvic floor, as you raise you up from the squat, it's also contracting, and as you go down and inhaling, the pelvic floor is relaxing a little bit. Because in daily life, you should not be thinking of your pelvic floor at all, right? You should be aware of it. That is different. You should be mindful of it, and you should know, like, oh, I just coughed, and actually, ooh, I was bearing down, yikes. Or you were lifting up a chair, and you felt like, okay, well, that felt actually good because my pelvic floor went up. I was able to breathe through the brace, so everything was correct, okay? You should be aware of when you were like, oh, this was a stressful week, my pelvic floor is tight, okay? You should be aware of it, but it doesn't mean that you should be doing like Kegels all the time with your exercises. At a certain point of time, your body should be able to pick up that autonomic function, and just the pelvic floor should be doing its thing. This has to do with retraining your breathing. You retrain your pelvic floor by retraining your breathing. And so, and how do you retrain your breathing? By having a strong abdominal core, and deep core. So this is the transversus abdominis exercises that you absolutely need to be doing at a certain level of your journey, even though you were tight, for example, hypertonic. And you cannot do squats with having already like a strong and active TAs. You can't. Okay, so do you understand this? At a certain level of your journey, when you're doing like squats and even like deadlifts, start running, you should know that your pelvic floor is already doing it. Like the autonomic function should have been already restored before. And it's restored by doing the basics on the floor. Okay? So that's how you improve prolapse. Basically, we start on the floor. We help the body rewire and remember what the pelvic floor should be doing. And then, we focus on a lot like pelvic floor contractions and letting go. But at a certain level, you should be already mindful and know that, okay, well, my pelvic floor is doing what it is supposed to be doing. Otherwise, you shouldn't be advancing, because then you skip the basics. And then it's gonna happen what the author just described, like my symptoms are better, but I'm not improving either. So you're stuck, you plateaued, okay? So now we have to like troubleshoot. It's like, why is that? And one of the reasons often is, going back to basics, we skipped something in the very beginning, okay? Does that make sense? So I guess short answer would be, when you exercise, when you go into the gym, when you're not a beginner anymore, you should not be doing Kegels, or you should not be doing a purposeful contraction. You should be aware of what your pelvic floor doing is. You're loading your squats heavy. I load my barbell, and I'm super aware what I'm bearing down. And if I can manage the pressure of the dumbbell when I do shoulder presses, for example, I'm super mindful. And I'm feeling my pelvic floor contracting as I push up, and I'm able to inhale, and I feel, okay, I need to, what my pelvic floor is doing, in other words, okay? I'm feeling it, but I'm not influencing it. I'm not doing anything with it. I'm not I'm just mindful of it, so that I know that I'm not bearing down, but I'm not doing a purposeful Kegel, okay? Because your pelvic floor should contract to match the load already. That's the autonomic function, okay? So when your pelvic floor had this autonomic function restored, which absolutely must happen before you grab any dumbbells and do any squats or deadlifts, what have you, chest presses, anything, even bridges, then the pelvic floor should be already doing what it's supposed to do. And so the bigger the load, the stronger the pelvic floor contraction, autonomic contraction, okay? But you should be aware of it, you should feel it, you should be in control and say, well, I think I loaded this was like 20 pounds. I squatted 20 pounds, but I actually did feel some pressure. So that means my pelvic floor is not as strong for the 20-pound dumbbell. So, okay, well then I have to regress. My pelvic floor is not as strong, okay? So you have to know a little bit about it. The other reason is like coughing, sneezing, laughing. You should not be thinking of what your pelvic floor is doing. Those are autonomic responses of the body. When you laugh and sneeze and cough, it's a forceful exhalation, and on exhalation, pelvic floor should go up, TAs contract, so you don't bear down. So it's I'm coughing, okay? So I'm not bearing down. And you should not be thinking of your pelvic floor when you cough, or when you laugh, or when you sneeze, okay? So that's the same reason why you should not be having to do a purposeful contraction when you just exercise in the gym, okay? There's the one caveat though. So having said all this, say you are an athlete, or say you want to really, like, you train for something, for powerlifting, like doing your 1 rep maximum, for CrossFit, for climbing, like your pelvic floor needs to be super strong, like really strong to match the load, then it's okay then to like, okay, I want to really strengthen, so I would use like Kegel weights, and really like strengthen the pelvic floor with doing Kegels, even like maybe doing squats, because I want to do, like, I have really like fitness goals, like I want to be super strong, but most people don't have that, okay? It's not functional. It's like I'm an athlete, I want to be strong, I want to reach a fitness goal, like I want to be climbing, I want to, like powerlifters, you want to lift really, really heavy, so you have to train your pelvic floor for it as well. So it's okay to include then a Kegel with the squat, but then again, think about it as an exercise, where an exercise you would do what, like 3 times, 4 times a week. You would do like 10 to 15, maximum 20 reps, okay? So you would treat the Kegel with that exercise as another exercise. So you would don't overdo it, in other words. That's what I'm trying to say. If you feel like you will need to do Kegels because you're not able to do a deadlift with the weights that you want to do, then do a Kegel, but you would do it three times in a week and do like 10 reps. You wouldn't do it with every single exercise. You would end up tight. Does this make sense? You would treat the Kegel just like another exercise in your exercise list that you would do once or twice in a week and with like 10 to 15 reps, okay? But not a Kegel with every single exercise. That is not necessary because your body should be already responding automatically to it. So that is the long answer to this question. Hope this helps. Let me know if it's like not clear. It is somewhat complex, right? In this area, like human body and pelvic floor therapy, there's no like black and white. It always needs context. So the context is like who you are, what are your goals, why would you do it, what's your body like, and the answer should be custom to you. So it's not like you should never do this or you should always do this. It's always the context, which makes it a little more complex, which requires me to talk for some minutes about this, okay? So, sorry. Let me know, hashtag replay, hashtag live if you were listening to this. Please, does this make sense? Was I eloquent enough? Like, was I clear enough explaining this? Does this make sense? Like, it should be simple enough that you understand it with the information that I give you. So it will really help me if you give me feedback and say like, well, okay, Yvette, I got it. I was clear enough, or like, well, it's just like way too much, which it's okay. It is complex, and that's why you find yourself finding contradictory information on the internet because you don't have the context. It's just pieces of information here and there. So let's put these pieces together. So if you have any questions about this, let me know. Please comment here and feel free to share this with anyone who you think may benefit from knowing this information. All right, let me know if you have any questions whatsoever. Love you. Thank you. Bye.